Hi, GameSpot viewers. This is Kevin Van Ord, and I'm seated here with Justin Calvert, and we're looking at Borderlands 2. This is some developer-provided footage, but we did play this exact same level when we were at E3. We wanted to sort of take you along for the ride, take a look at this mission, and see what it's all about.
Yeah, so this is so what we're seeing here. This is from the perspective of someone playing as Axton the Commando. I actually did not get a chance to play as Axton.
Right.
So I can't really speak to that much, but you played as him, right, Kevin?
I did actually. And his defining trait is that he can drop turrets. And of course, this being Borderlands 2, you can upgrade those turrets so that they're more powerful, or so that you can drop perhaps more than one, and so on and so forth. So
I don't know, man. I struggled with this level early on because that little tunnel that we came down a second ago, I totally didn't come that way.
Yeah, I did the same thing when I first played, and I was playing with another member of the press, and we got murderized.
Yeah. We went the other way, and for about 2 or 3 minutes we were just getting destroyed, and then one of the gearbox guys who was there was just like, oh, you might want to duck down through there, you know, that's it's a much easier route through the level, and plus it's where you find the Overseer, which is your first objective here. You're searching for an Overseer.
Yeah, and I think it's worth pointing out that for both of us, we both talked about how just tough the entire level was. This is not a game, I think, that you're just gonna plow through. Perhaps if you drop it down to easy or something, but what we played, we definitely had our asses handed to us.
Yeah, the demo E3 was tough. They were only letting 2 players play simultaneously, as far as I know. Like the area where I played was set up with booths in pairs. And it was I mean, I've played Borderlands 2 before, like different levels. Nothing nearly as difficult as this demo was. But
I don't think it didn't strike me as though it was over the top or that it was cheap or anything. It was more that there were enemies everywhere, and they didn't care where they were coming from or where you were. They were just gonna hammer on you, and you had to pay very close attention to where you were in relation to where your enemies were.
I think maybe more so than like previous Borderlands experience that we've had. It was enemies coming from all directions. There was no one place you could stand and just kind of put them all in front of you.
Right.
And I think you were being forced to kind of change up your weapons a lot more, and think carefully about which ones you're using. There's an awful lot of mechanical enemies in this demo, and I think that the loadouts weren't necessarily optimized for that in any way.
No, I had one of the first things I started with was a pistol that did poison type damage.
Right, so useless.
Yeah, exactly. So it wasn't going to do me any good against the mechanical enemies. Now, to catch people up, what you're doing here is you have to destroy these statues in this city, but your gunfire doesn't injure them, so you have to release this bot and escort it around while it does your dirty work for you.
Am I the only one who tried to shoot the statues for a really long time before realizing that?
Well, no, because I paid attention to the dialogue that came up.
I did not. I was I was totally just lobbing grenades and rockets and all kinds of those statues before I realized they didn't do anything.
Check this weapon out. I mean, that's sort of the joy of Borderlands anyway, is the sheer variety of different weapons that you can use, and how many permutations of those weapons exist.
Yeah, I saw on I don't know if you saw our stage show at E3, but Randy Pitchford was on there with Borderlands 2, and he was saying how, I guess, for the original Borderlands they actually got like a Guinness World Record. And the number that Guinness came up with for Borderlands 1 was that I think it was like 18.75 million guns. And that's obviously the most that any game has ever had. And I guess when Randy was given the award, he straight up told them that, well, as soon as Borderlands 2 comes out, you're going to need a new edition of your book.
Yeah, that might be a little. I mean, we don't want to oversell that. I mean, a lot of that's just minor.
Oh, yeah.
The most minor of variations between
absolutely.
the same weapon, but it still speaks to just how much variation there is in the experience that you create for yourself as you go. And that's sort of the Borderlands thing. Isn't so much. It's not just as much about what the game is creating for you, but the fun you create for yourself and how you approach these situations. a great little touch there with the robot sort of pulling itself along with its arms.
I remember these constructors. I felt like just a lot of the enemies just took. I mean, they were bullet sponges compared to the ones in previous games. Look at these
Another
guys.
great effect how they come in.
Yeah.
Into the battlefield like that.
Yeah, I forget. I wish I could. I forget what my go-to weapon was now. It was some kind of like little cluster grenade launcher or something like that. That ended up being my go-to many times when I played through this level.
I'll be interested to see if the. I assume that these are guys from 2K or even from the development team themselves.
Yeah.
But I'll be interested to see how. It looks like they're getting themselves out of the tighter situations pretty fluidly.
They have 3 of them. I mean, they're cheating. We were only allowed 2. So I think that, clearly that makes all the difference. I know the enemies scale, but yeah, Jody and I played with Jody Robinson from our community team, and we so many times we were having to like heal each other or like getting both needing to get second wind and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, I think the load. I think they made a point of giving us pretty varied loadout. So it's like I think you start with a sniper rifle, and in this level that doesn't help you an awful lot. So I wonder what happens. So you're obviously escorting this. What is it? A hacked overseer? Like, I wonder. I guess if that takes too much damage, you just fail.
You fail. Yeah, you absolutely fail. And that's exactly when I first played. That's exactly how we did fail.
Oh, really?
Well, we failed twice before we succeeded.
Okay.
As it turns out, the first time was just because we went down that way you talked about, where before we even really got the mission going, we were just both slaughtered. And the second time, it's because the Overseer got to maybe the 3rd statue. It's wherever the other Overseer comes out. It was the last point we saw where the other Overseer was the bullet sponge. That it gets pretty tough around there. Here, there's a nice bit of respite though that we're watching. I wanted to point out the art design too.
Yeah.
Because it looks great, but there are some obvious differences already from Borderlands 1, and that is just the kind of environment in general that we're looking at. This is not a wasteland. I mean, it's a place that's been laid to waste.
Right.
But it's not the kind of environment that I think about when I think about Borderlands.
No, it's much more interesting. And the levels that we've seen previously as well, there's like a kind of toxic swamp and like an abandoned zoo of sorts, and so they're definitely much more interesting environments this time out.
Right. I also really like how they've taken the cell shaded look of the first game, and they've made it a lot more organic from my perspective. The lines are less heavily drawn. There's a lot more texture within within the fine lines. So I really grew to appreciate as I played just how far the art has come from the first game. Of course, in the first game, it was not always intended to look the way it ultimately looked.
Yeah, no, on my 360, I still have the original Borderlands trailer that I downloaded when it was somewhat realistic visual style, and the first time I saw it at E3 as well, it was there was no cell shading whatsoever.
This revolver is rad, by the way.
Yeah.
I love the way the animations looked.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah, I feel like they've had a lot more fun with just the weapon designs this time out as well. Like the different manufacturers and stuff are even more distinct. Wow, God, these mechanical enemies really take some...
rough. Yeah, look how fast his health is falling.
Yeah. So it's been a while since I played Borderlands. What's the kind of which weapons are the best to use against mechanical?
Oh gosh, it's been forever since I played.
Is it the electric ones?
I would imagine so, right? But it's been so long since I played. And it's funny.
So, that was an electric weapon he was using then, I think. That seemed to work pretty good.
And it's funny because I was never the biggest Borderlands 1 player, yet I'm really excited about Borderlands 2.
Yeah.
And I think part of that is that you see how it's grown, both in terms of the environments that it takes place in, as well as just... It does seem a little bit more alive. just in terms of how you look around the world and you see this looks like a place where people live.
Right.
And that's an important aspect for me. Because my biggest problem perhaps with the first game is that it didn't feel like there was a whole lot pulling everything together.
Right.
And this looks a lot more sort of focused in terms of the tone of the game and a little less, you know, what do we do next?
So the other two characters that we're seeing here, there's like Zero the Assassin being played by Pez Radar, and then the other one must be playing as a siren, right? Because I saw an enemy suspended in that ball that the siren has now. So that still leaves. So there's the Gunzerker who we've seen before, and then there's a fifth one, right? That's like what is it, like pre-order bonus or collector's edition bonus or something like that? I can't even remember what it's called, but there's like a fifth class. The fact that they're doing that, I mean, I guess they're gonna, you know, when it comes to DLC for this game, I'm sure there'll be maybe even a couple more classes in it, you know, in addition to levels and stuff.
Yeah, I'd love to see that too. I mean, and that's part of the Borderlands thing too, is people love coming back and playing more. Hello, Mr. Boss.
Okay, I definitely didn't get this far when I played at E3. Because that was the weird thing at E3 that, at least when I went to play, they had you on a time limit.
Yep.
And the deal was that if you beat the level in the time limit, you would get a code to redeem for like one of the guns you used in the demo or something like that.
Nobody in my room was beating the demo in the time limit.
I didn't see anybody beating the demo.
And there you have it. Even the developers apparently got their asses handed to them. But that's the end of
That's the end of our
demo.
Axton video.
Yep.